to the values of constitution, one of the main values of our Indian constitution is that India belongs to a secular country, democratic country, and always stand for the principle of the social justice of this country. When it comes to the NEP is not representing any kind of secular vision. Campus Foundation of India is already stated in our draft that the secular vision. When it comes to the NEP is actually flourishing and actually focusing on only on the ancient Vedic heritage only. What this India is deeply rooted with different kind of culture, different kind of ethnicity, different kind of greed, different kind of case, and it is gone through the different ages, which means it is consisted with the ancient age, it consisted with the medieval age, it consisted with every kind of age, modern age also. The medieval and modern age are very crucial for formulating this.
Sorry for inconvenience. I think he had dropped his network. Let's wait for a minute, sir. Let's see whether he will rejoin or else we'll continue our session, sir. Yes, sir has joined.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sorry. Some network has been interrupted. It's very huge, right? Sorry for the interruption. Sorry. Okay, so let me continue, Sadaka.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, fine. So we are talking about the NEP, the lack of secular values of NEP. When it comes to NEP, actually the Hindutva government is only giving the priority for the ancient Vedic ages only. They are not addressing the different ages of medieval period or the modern period, which is very crucial for shaping the India. They are actually only flourishing the idea of Hindutva government. They are only trying to focus and to embody the culture of Hindutva to build a Hindutva nation only. They are not addressing any kind of cultural dimension of other states, other caste, other ethnicity. So they are only focusing on the ancient Vedic heritage only. That we can easily evident in the NEP 2020 when we are going to the 66-page draft. We can easily see that they are not giving any priority for the secular value. They are only giving the priority for the ancient Vedic age only, irrespective of the modern age and irrespective of the medieval age, which has given more important role in shaping our nation. They are actually sidelining the modern age and the medieval age, and they are sidelining other people's culture, ethnicity, caste, and everything. And when it comes to the clear level study and clear research oriented observation on the 66 page this report, actually it's very notional one, it's inflated one, and it's a hollow one. They are not giving any proper idea of how this goal has to be achieved. The changes there has been mentioned in the NEP, and the new changes which was going to be implemented as for the NEP 2020, they are not giving a clear picture of how this changes is going to be happen. The changes are not clear, not result oriented, how it is more efficient, what is this new system is intended to, how this system will be worked. These kind of things are not mentioned in everywhere. Simply we can say that this policy fails to substantiate the rationale behind the structural changes, which means what I'm saying you that if you are introducing a new structure in a new policy, you have to give the rationale behind this structure, for what purpose this structure stands, how it works, and what is the intent of this structure, and how it is going to be implemented, what would be the result, how many times it takes for to be result oriented one, how it would be affected, what is the impact, and how it would be assisted in the education sector. Such kind of the rationale behind each and every structure should be communicated, should be for the society, before the public. But this kind of any kind of rationale behind each and every structure is not even mentioned. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is not even mentioned in the NEP. The roadmap and the action plans is actually is not there. The lack of roadmap and action plan is the peak of this NEP. We can easily say that. When it comes to, I will let you know some examples which is already included in the NEP, the 66-page draft of NEP. India Institute of Translation and Interpretation. It is a body which is going to be developed by under this NEP 2020. National Book Promotion Policy, National Mission on Foundational Illiteracy and Numeracy, National Assessment Center for Designing Holistic Assessment Method. This kind of lot of regulatory body, policy schemes, names are listed in the NEP. But what is the purpose of these bodies? How these bodies is going to be worked? How this is going to be result oriented? How this is going to be assisting on the education sector as a new innovation or the new revamping? This kind of the basic rationale behind each and every structure is not even mentioned, not even imparted to the public, which means the public are still confusion about what are this regulatory, what is this regulatory is going to be done for the sake of the education and for the sake of the public. We can easily say that. And when it comes to privatization, actually the NEP is mainly focusing to legitimize the private players to come for the sake of the educational sectors, which means they are giving lot of relaxation upon the private players for to come to the educational sectors. But what is the joke in it is they are not calling us the private players. They are calling us the public motivated private share or philanthropic private sectors. They are using some kind of phrases, some kind of words to depict a new image for these private players, and they are using a gimmick to fool the public and to give legitimizing the power of the public to be involved in the education sector. As you know that the NEP 1968 is an inspiration to demotivate the private players to bring them to the education sector, and there is lot of regulations, there is lot of social audits, there is lot of critical evaluation for the private players to be involved in the education sector. And basically we can say that the Botanic Combination of 1964 to 1966, and which is implemented on the 96 by the NEP of 96, is actually demotivating the private players to be involved in the education sector, and giving high task of regulation and giving and doing the proper social audit for to demotivate the private player. When it comes to the NEP 2020 in the regulator private players bring it to the education sector, which means the humanity for come and to do the business in the education sector. At the same case is also happening in the foreign investment. The companies actually investing, actually inspiring the foreign private players to invest money in the education sector for the sake of the profit. That is, we can easily happen we can see and evident in this NAP, which means we can easily say that through relaxing the regulation, through giving inspiration, through avoiding the critical evaluation, critical social audit, the private players is actually motivated to invest and make a big players in the education sector. That is going on, and we can easily say that the privatizing the sector is one of the focal agenda of the government for the sake of the capitalist lobbies in this field. And this policy is actually an exclusionary one. We can say that the policy is an actually exclusionary one, which means in this 66 draft page drafted by the central government and claiming that this is a revamping and this is a super revision for the education, actually in this 66 page draft, in anywhere, in a single word, nothing saying about the reservation. What is reservation? Actually, it's a fulfillment of the equality, the fulfillment of the social justice of this country. The one of the very peak principle of the equality, one of the very major and the focal principle of the social justice, the reservation is not even mentioned anywhere in the 66 page of the I am concluding 66 page of this draft, which means we can say that the reservation is not even mentioned in anywhere, and basically the RSS is always stand against the reservation. We can easily go through, if we are going through the history of the RSS and the Hindutva agenda, they are always stand against the reservation. Always they are trying to work to undermine the reservation by lifting the principle of merit-oriented admission, merit-oriented process on the students' community and so on, so things. So actually, they are trying to undermine the basic principle of equality, undermine the basic principles of social justice by avoiding the principles of reservation and lifting the meritorious-oriented education. And coming to the conclusion. Actually, it's also it's also not addressing the academic freedom of the students. They are only saying that the students' academic life is limited to the sports, some mere cultures, some mere way. They are not saying about the democratic intervention of the students. It is totally saying about the academic lives of the students is limited with some kind of arts, sports, and some various club activities. And also, it's focusing on the Gurukula system, which means it is a teacher-centric one, which means that the teachers have the ultimate autonomous power to opt the pedagogy of the education system, which means they are not giving any priority to the students. They are only giving priority to the teachers only, which means it's a Gurukula system where the students always with a mind of submissive mind, and the teachers must be a supreme. This is actually against the modern education system. It's actually against the modern education system, which means in this NEP, it's a teacher-centric one. It's not a student-centric one. It's not acceptable. It's actually the curtails the right. Actually curtails the rights of the students. It's actually curtails the voice of the students. It's actually curtails the democratic political intervention of the students. Actually, RSS is always intended to do so also. If they are actually trying to suppress the voice of the dissents, they know that the students are the real opposition of this world. So they are trying to implement a teacher-centric one, which the teachers has the supreme power to rule over the students also. And actually, it propagates a authoritarian principles, and so it's only addressing the responsibilities and duties of the students only. They are not addressing the rights of the students. It's a principles of authoritarianism. Come to the conclusion. I am saying that Actually, this NEP is actually a crafted one of Saffronic privatized central agendas, which is going to be implemented. It is actually a body of privatization. It's actually a body of saffronization. It's actually a body of centralization of the powers, this is such kind of an NEP. Actually, the government is claiming that it is a supervision and revamping of educational sector, but we can easily come to a point that it is actually a inflated and hollow one, which is not giving anything the rights, even when it comes to the constitutional value of social justice, equality, democracy, the minority rights, the students' right, giving more importance of the public sector, giving other cultures importance. Nothing is going to be addressed. This is actually a body of saffronization. It's actually a body of privatization. It's actually a body of centralization. The Campus Front of India comes to a decision that it's actually what is NEP. NEP brings Hindutva ideals of centralization, erosion of secular and democratic values, reinforcement of authoritarianism, and furtherance of commercialization. This is the conclusion about the NEP by the Campus Front of India National Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Rauf Sharif Sir, for your keynote speech. Now we have our resource person and the chief guest, Hanumanthayya Sir, to give a talk on NEP, as well as followed by we will have an interaction session with all the students. Sir. So, handovering session to you, sir.
The other two who were there, Mr.
Yes,
Sadak Shah.
Yes, sir.
And Riyaz and Siraj Hasan.
Yeah.
If they wanted to speak, let them also speak. I will finally speak to them.
Okay. No, we actually we don't have the other speakers, sir. The only two speakers, the major speaker will be from your side.
Okay.
And presentation, the keynote speech already were done.
Okay.
We have our state president who will be definitely interacting with you on the session. Your talk get over, sir.
Okay.
And all the questions will be noted and we'll be having interaction at the end of your session, sir.
Okay. So shall I?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. The new National Education Policy 2020 is this government's, Modi 2 government's policy drafted. In fact, it was drafted in Karnataka. It is not Kasturi Rangan as chairman. And many right-thinking or the rightist educational experts were in the committee. It is true that the policy was not allowed to have a discussion across the country and also across the different sections of the society, which is very, very important. So the basic concern of this policy is what we are worried. In fact, the policy of since Kothari Commission and the new education policy brought out during Rajiv Gandhi's period 1986, whatever changes has been done, it was in correlation with the Constitution of India, and also it was in the interest of Indian teaching and student-centric area. So this policy has not very, very new things into the education system. It is continuation of the new education policy which was formulated in the year 1986. There are certain changes which were given and said we are going to give a new education policy. And what are the changes that this has given? Basically, the kindergarten, pre-primary education has been included into this. A child will come into the education area at the age of 3. Earlier, it was called Anganwadis and pre-nursery, which was separate from main teaching of primary education. This policy has included this pre-nursery education into the main policy. So this was formulated and made that as 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 2. And the main worry into this is across the country, we have Anganwadis, the CSDS scheme, which has to be given to the children to strengthen them, and we have to give them nutrition. That is the basic thing. See, 3 years child should be able to find out what is around the child. It should be able to recognize the words, recognize the materials around it. That is the basic thing, and getting good food into the nutritious food is very, very important aspect in the pre-primary education. See, the basic question is, today the Anganwadis are run by the government, and almost majority of the Indian population, rural population, is into the Anganwadis. But we have seen the system in Anganwadis. It is a small shed where the Anganwadis are run. And how do you expect a student, a child, to develop a good atmosphere in this kind of Anganwadis and with this kind of teachers? So we should have basic training of teachers in Anganwadis. Now we are giving jobs to Anganwadi teachers as a minimum standard. We have maintained and given jobs to them. But we have not trained any Anganwadi teacher into the system. So this is the basic thing where we have to start. The new education policy should have taken up this basic training to Anganwadi teachers. And the second most concern is the infrastructure. See, we are now giving 4% of GDP, which was raised to 6% according to the government. But the inadequacy of the funds into the system, education, is very big. The disparity in the system of government schools is, we are facing a lot of difficulty, and infrastructure is not available to the people. So this policy should have taken care of it. It should have given sufficient funds and create very good infrastructure. See, there are some states in the country where they have created good infrastructure to government schools. In some of our states, I can just quote, Delhi government has done primary education attractive. Now Kerala government started doing it recently. So the children from socially and economically disadvantaged groups, for which the present system is not capable of taking care of their welfare. That is the basic concern which we have to think over. If you don't think these lines, the new education policy, which is giving a big publicity across the public domain, will not survive or will not going to give the fruits. The policy fails to give a roadmap from primary to the higher education, especially for SC, ST, OBC and minority students. See, they are the basic, they should be the basic concern. How you attract SC, ST students, OBC and minority students into the compulsory education system. If you don't implement the compulsory education system, the new education policy which speaks in loud voice will not going to give the result. That is another important. So for which I demand adequate resources has to be arranged by this government. If the government did not arrange the adequate resources and just tell the policy in a loud voice, will not going to give the result. That is another important thing. So in higher level, higher primary school, 5th standard, 6th standard and 8th standard, there is a big dropout of the students. We must keep it in mind, this dropout is from SC, ST, OBC and minorities. This is the major thing which we have to concentrate. So how do you take measures to bring back the dropouts and see that they continue their education, at least compulsory education till 18 years? Has the new education policy taken care of that? The answer is negative. So you should think over those things. See, it speaks about financial incentives to the students. Now there is a constitutional guarantee for the students that they will going to get the scholarship. But this financial incentive will not be a constitutional guarantee. It is only an incentive. It can be given, it can be dropped out tomorrow. It can be delinked tomorrow. That is another very, very important thing which we should keep it in mind. Then the recruitment of teachers. Wherever you go in the policy, nowhere in the policy, the recruitment of teachers has said on merit basis. So the present system is also recruiting teachers on merit basis along with reservation to the different categories. Now very recently the parliament, I think last year, passed an act that even in the higher education, higher learning institutes, you should give reservation to SC, ST, OBCs. But what happened to that law? Are you going to drop that law or are you going to implement that? If you are implementing, it should be in the recruitment of staff, recruitment of teachers, professors, assistant professors, and in the teaching faculty, in the overall teaching faculty, you should spell out that this policy will follow the constitutional guarantees given to SC, ST, OBCs and other groups and minority groups. But the policy never speaks about it. That is another worrying sign that the policy should loudly speak about it. Then only the confidence of this big section will come into the existence. If you don't create the confidence of the bigger sections of the society and make a policy for elite of the society, which will not going to give any solution. That is another important. So merit based recruitment, but reservation is not specifically spelled out. We should demand, you should make in the policy, you should be louder in the policy that the constitutional guarantees given to the marginalized communities in the society will be taken care without any lapse. That is the demand that every one of us should make. Then this policy will be speaking according to the constitution and suitable to the society of Indian nature. See, the document emphasizes increased role of the private and corporate sector. We are demanding as on date, the education should be given free of cost, at least compulsory education, free to all the sections of the society without any interference, and at least nationalize the primary education, if not the higher education. If the primary education is nationalized, you will get common syllabus, you will get common education to everybody, to all the sections of the society. But once you allow private sector, corporate sector, their intention is, may not be making money, but only people who have money, who are well-to-do in the society, will be able to get the education and not the marginalized communities again. And this is going to bring back the ancestral Indian situation again by implementing the new education policy. That is my concern. So that should not happen. So they say the private companies and the private corporate companies, if they make profit out of this, it should be used for research. That is the intention of the policy. It should be used for research, and that profit should be used for building infrastructure in the education field. I think right now in the country, the private educational sector across the country, wherever it is, I have not seen them using their profit into infrastructure building in general. So we will going to create a layers in the system. Well-equipped institutions and no infrastructure institutions. The no infrastructure institutions will be the government institutions. That is another tragedy which you are going to face it. So this layer, private institutions and government institutions, which is already there. The private institutions are investing and they are treating this as an industry, not as an education charity. It is an industry for them. So this should not be continued. But the policy says this will continue. So this discrimination should not be there. And the research, there are 4-layer system, multi-layer controlling mechanism we have to find out. So there are 3 types of system they have formulated in higher education. Type 1, research universities. Type 2, teaching universities. Type 3, the graduate colleges, undergraduate colleges. I think we must think over the research universities which are working across the country, except 1 or 2. The other research universities are not excellently working. But on the other hand, research is being done in the teaching colleges better than the exclusive research universities, which we should understand and accept. So my idea of categorizing type 1, type 2, type 3, these categories, you will not find any student belonging to the marginalized communities, including minorities, to the research universities. There will be no entry for them. So let us specifically tell the government, this policy should follow the reservation which is at least implemented in some of the states. There is a reservation for minorities, reservation for SC, STs as per the constitution, and OBCs as per the constitution. If that you are not spelling out properly, you are hiding these things and bringing, in the name of merit, you are bringing an elite society of India into the field of education. This is very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. We have seen people, students from marginalized communities have excelled in their research and higher education. They have excelled. But you should give an opportunity to them. Only merit will not work in a society like India. See, multi-pluralistic society, multi-cultured society should be involving, it should be involving all the communities, all the sections of the society, then your new policy will work out. And this policy, according to me, is following the American system of education. I know American system of education has become a model to so many countries. But we must think in India whether we are offered to have that kind of education in this country. Can we keep some sections away from the system of education and achieve the country's pride or whatsoever? There is a multi-layer controlling mechanism is suggested in this policy. But we should tell the government the multi-layer controlling mechanism should be stopped. It should be student-centric. It should be, the mechanism should be transparent and democratic. The mechanism is not transparent and not democratic. And again, why I am telling this? The conflict is between the autonomy and the governance. See, today we have given autonomy to most of the universities, almost all the universities. The UGC is following a system. There will be a nomination from the government. There will be election to some of the universities to syndicate and senate members. They will govern the university. It is fantastic. It is very good. But this autonomy has the control over the system. Then only the governance will be smoother and governance will help to create a system here in this education. But there is a confusion in this policy. It is not clear in the policy. The autonomy and the governance are clear. It is not seen in the policy. So the national higher, there are so many bodies which are made. National Higher Education Regulatory Authority, NHERI, National Accreditation Center, General Education Council, and Higher Education Grant Committee, that is research funding, there is a committee, and National Research Foundation is another body. So these bodies which I have told, Higher Education Regulation Authority, what are the working conditions of these bodies? If you concentrate on research, What do you regulate in the higher education? And what is the work of National Accreditation Committee? There is an accreditation committee and higher education regulatory body. What are these duplications? So we should go into the details of these things. That is why the autonomy and the governance doesn't tally in the policy. So this policy has to be restructured, and it should involve everybody who are the stakeholders of the society. The policy should be student-centric, and the syllabus shall be decided by the experts of education, not by the governing body or by the bureaucracy. The controlling of education policies, very recently Prime Minister was telling, the government should have minimum interference in the education policies while inaugurating the governor's address conference. So if that is the idea of your thinking, government's interference must be minimum. You should spell out in the policy very clearly. Otherwise, there will be a confusion and the policy will become a mess tomorrow across the universities and across the higher education centers. We are going to destroy the education across the country. That should not be happen. And as I have already told, the second very, very important thing is the recruitment of teachers, admission of students. Nowhere it is spelled out that we will follow the reservation. What will happen? Okay, we will give admission to all the merited students. That is one slogan which you are giving already. And who is your merited students? Who is offered to take the higher education? Today, in almost all the universities across the country, at least the government universities, the central universities are following the reservation, and variety of students from marginalized communities and across the other communities are entering the universities for higher learning. But if that is not followed, according to this policy, if you continue, only an elite and affordable section will enter the universities. As it is, higher education has become few sections authority. It is not to everybody. Not the marginalized communities are participating in the higher education at par with national average. It is not so today, even today also. So that will going to expand your disparity between the upper class of the society and the marginalized class of the society. And nowhere it is mentioned the unaffordable merited students will be supported by the government. Nowhere it is mentioned. Okay, if a merited student cannot affordable to pay his fees, what he will do, what he should. So he should come out of the university. Though he is merited from the marginalized community, he cannot continue his education. That is another danger in the policy. So we should be very categorical. We should demand the government. And according to me, the person who gave the keynote address was telling there is a hidden agenda in the policy. There is saffronization in the new education policy. So I don't see much saffronization in the policy because they cannot do that. If they can do that, they will definitely may go into that. But they have to compete with the world-class education. They cannot teach yoga or such education standards and compete with the technological world. You cannot compete with. So they are trying to create an elite educated class in the country. Again, that elite class will be the upper caste of the society. That is the danger in India. It is not the marginalized communities entering into the higher education, entering into the research, entering into the main academic area. It is not seen in the policy. That is where we should be careful. So as you said, the olden Indian Vedic system or Gurukula system will continue. That may not happen, but in the larger run, in the name of merit, you will be allowing the upper caste of the society, not the marginalized communities. That is ultimately going to create an elite class, not all the sections of the society. That is the greatest danger in the policy. So friends, I must tell you, we should demand for a reorganization of the policy, and the government should further open the policy for a public discussion across the cross section of the society. See, if you don't see, the campus front of India is thinking that there is a hidden agenda. Okay, we should offer them, come on, tell us what is the hidden agenda. That should be the open mind of the policy makers. But somehow, I am not seeing that the policy makers are open. They wanted to implement. In a state like Karnataka, even it is not discussed in the parliament, they wanted to implement from this year. They are in a hurry to implement the policy. But I don't understand why that hurry should be there unless it is convinced of all the sections of the society. If we don't convince all the sections of the society, implementation will be partial. Implementation will be parochial. So, friends, let us demand for that. There is a time for discussion in the parliament also, I must tell you. Then we should organize as much as MPs and as much as political parties to debate on this, on crucial issues, on social issues, on constitutional issues in the policy, and we should try to protect the multiculturalism of this country in our education policy also. But any hidden agenda cannot change your science, cannot change your technology, cannot change your medicinal education. But this kind of hidden agenda may create a different section as educated class, as researchers, as higher education class. That should not happen in this country. That is going to keep this society as it is. That foresight we should have. It will create a layer in the society. That layer will be the marginalized, will be there only, and the elite will go further. That differences we should avoid, and we should condense it. We should always try to create an atmosphere that the last man can become the first man of the society. It is not enough if a last man becomes the president of India. But large section, marginalized section of the society should be able to reach higher education and research. That should be the education policy. So that is why we should have open mind in tackling this, have discussions in all the university campuses, and see that the policy, wherever there is a lacuna, is corrected and implemented properly. Thank you very much.
Really, it was a very mind-blowing session, sir. You had educated us more about policy as well as the hidden agenda cannot bring any result. We should think more on crucial social and multicultural policies in our new education policy. And now we are moving to a next session. It's like interaction session with the sir.
Yeah.
I would like to start with our state president, Fayaz Doddamane, to start an interaction session. Sir. And even all my friends, you have an open session. You can raise any question through chat box, or you can straightforward, you can ask the questions here.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Now, ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ?
ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಿದೆ ಹೇಳಿ.
ತುಂಬಾ ಖುಷಿ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಒಂದು ರಾಜ್ಯಸಭಾ ಸಂಸದರು ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಒಂದು ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಇಂಟರಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತಹದ್ದು. ಬಹುಶಃ ಈ ದಿನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಜ್ಯಸಭೆಯನ್ನ ನೋಡುವಾಗ ಬಹಳ ಆತಂಕ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ರಾಜ್ಯಸಭೆಗೆ ಯಾರು ಅರ್ಹರು ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಿತ್ತು ಅವರನ್ನ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಪಾರ್ಟಿಯ ಒಂದು ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ನಿಂದಾಗಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಜನರು ಹಣ ಉಳ್ಳವರು ಕೂಡ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ನಾವು ತುಂಬಾ ಆತಂಕ ಪಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಬಹುಶಃ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸೆಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ನೋಡುವಾಗ ಅರ್ಹ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಿಂದ ಇನ್ನೂ ಕೂಡ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಒಂದು ಭರವಸೆಯನ್ನ ಮೂಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಮತ್ತು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸೆಷನ್ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಖುಷಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ನೀವು ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಮಾತಾಡುವಾಗ ತುಂಬಾ ಎಲೈಟ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಈ MP-ಗಳಂತ ಹೇಳುವಾಗ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಜನರು ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಲಿ ಆಗಿರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ, ಜನರ ಜೊತೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ರೆಡಿ ಇರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇದು ಪ್ರಜಾಸತ್ತಾತ್ಮಕ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಲಕ್ಷಣ ಕೂಡ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಬ್ಯುಸಿ ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ನಡುವೆ ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಲಿ ಆಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿರೋದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಕೂಡ ಖುಷಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಮುಂದೆ ಕೂಡ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ಸೆಷನ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಬರಲಿಕ್ಕೆ. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಈ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ನೋಡುವಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹೊಸ ವಿಚಾರಗಳು ನಮ್ಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಆಲೋಚನೆಯನ್ನ ಬದಲಿಸುವಂತ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳಿದ್ವಿ. ಈಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಇಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಗೊಂದಲಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂತ ನಮ್ಮ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಕಾಯ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮೊದಲನೇ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ನಾನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದೇನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಒಂದು ಪಾಲಿಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇದೊಂದು ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಕೂಡ ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಪಾಲಿಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಅವರು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಈಗ ಸಂಸತ್ತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಬರುವಂತ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ. ಯಾಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ವಿರೋಧ ಪಕ್ಷಗಳ ಹಕ್ಕೊತ್ತಾಯನ ಮಂಡನೆ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಅದನ್ನ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ವಿರೋಧ ಪಕ್ಷಗಳಾಗಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿಯುತ ವಿರೋಧ ಪಕ್ಷದ ನಾಯಕರಾಗಿ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಒಂದು ಏನು ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜಿಗಳನ್ನ ನೀವು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಮುಂದೆ ಸಂಸತ್ತಿನದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದನ್ನು ವಿರೋಧಿಸಿ? ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಇದನ್ನು ರಿಆರ್ಗನೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ ಅಥವಾ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಇದನ್ನ ತಿರಸ್ಕರಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ, ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇದನ್ನ ನಾವು ವಿರೋಧಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜಿಗಳನ್ನ ನೀವು ಮಾಡಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂತ ಮೊದಲನೆಯ ಕ್ವಶನ್.
See, Parliament munde, it is yet to come. The government should bring before the Parliament as a responsibility. But if the government don't want to bring this policy for discussion before the Parliament, all the opposition party joining together, we will demand for a discussion through so many provisions of the Constitution and provisions of the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. So once this comes for discussion, we will take class by class and try to enlighten the government that these are all the lacuna in the policy. So where are the contradictions in the family? We have passed certain laws in the Parliament that we will going to give reservation in higher learning education institutions also. And we have already have reservation in our universities, colleges and everywhere. That is not spelled out anywhere except mentioning merit basis recruitment of teachers will be there. So, ಆ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು ಈ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಒಳಗೆ ಸೇರಿಸದೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಜನರಿಗೆ ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ಒಂದು ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಪಾಲಿಸಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ನ್ಯಾಯ ತರ್ತಾರೆ ಅನ್ನುವ ಕ್ಲಿಯರೆನ್ಸ್ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಖಂಡಿತ I mean almost all the opposition parties in the parliament, including Congress, will demand for social justice across primary education to the higher education. That is one thing. Second thing, the administration of the universities. You are making a research university, you are making a teaching university and undergrad colleges, 3 tiers. Whether this will work out, what is the lacuna in the present system? Whether we can go for research in the present system, it is possible or not, should be studied. Whether that has been studied, what is the report says? On the basis of the report, we should have a 3-tier system of universities. But no studies have been conducted in that respect. That we should enlighten the government, make the eyes open, and see that this autonomy of the universities has to be protected. If we don't protect the autonomy of the university, tomorrow, lot of marginalized communities and unaffordable sections of the society cannot enter into the higher education. So we will definitely take it up in the parliament. Whether government brings it or not, the opposition parties will demand for a discussion on the policy.
ಸರ್, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಈಗ ನೀವು ಇದನ್ನ ಈಗ ರಿಸರ್ವೇಶನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮೈನ್ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ಯಾಕಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಈಗ ನಾವು ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಹಲವು ಘಟನೆಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿದ್ವಿ ಸಂಸತ್ತಿನಲ್ಲಿ, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಆಕ್ಟ್ಗಳು ಪಾಸ್ ಆದಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭಗಳು. ನೀವು ಇದನ್ನ ಒಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನಲಿ ಇದನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೇ ಕೊಡುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಪವರ್ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪಾರ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟರಿ ಏನೋ ಆ ಒಂದು ಸಂವಿಧಾನದೊಳಗೆ ಇದೆ, ಪಾರ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟರಿ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ
ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಇಫ್ there is no unanimous opinion across the parties, we will refer it to standing committees.
Yes.
Standing committee will detailed deliberations will be done in the standing committee, and they will suggest certain amendments to the clauses in the policy. Then it will be implemented. So there is all provisions for that.
So how can we support you outside the parliament as a student movement?
This is, see, the universities, the right thinking educationists should speak out. What is the lacuna in this system, in the policy? What is to be included? What is to be excluded? And what should be loudly spelled out in the policy? And there should not be any hidden agenda inside the policy. See, ambiguity should not be there. Ambiguity can be interpreted according to the rulers. See, if a vice chancellor is not an open-minded person, he can interpret the ambiguity in a different way. Any ambiguity should not be there in the clause. So, for which we need to have a detailed deliberation on this policy.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was so nice to hear that you had assured us you will be raising voice in the parliament.
Definitely. We will take it up.
And any other questions, my dear friends? You need to clear.
Sir, I have a question.
Tell me.
As education is a concurrent subject in our country,
Yes.
Will this policy be a centralization of education?
This tries to make it, but Constitution does not permit, because it is in concurrent list. State's opinion is compulsory, is a must. States can say that we are not going to implement. But as a policy, if you want to implement, any state for that matter, whether it is the same ruling party government or a different party government, that doesn't come in the way. But what all the changes it is required, the states can suggest to the policy, to the parliament, to the policy makers. Once that is implemented, the states can do that. So this is in concurrent list, it is exactly correct. But unfortunately, both including state and center, adequate funds are not being allocated to education. That is the tragedy. And in that critical condition, the government is showing a great reformation in the education, but no funds allocated. That is what we have to tell them and make them specific that you should allot so much of funds to implement your own policy. That we should tell them.
Sorry for interrupt. Sir, when
Tell me.
we talk about funds and the budget,
Yeah.
so what we feel like, sir, whether it is sufficient fund we are getting or how much we should demand whenever the budget has been happening or before that?
No, earlier we were telling about the budgeted about 20% of the budget money should be provided to education. That was the demand. But it is not been given. Even now, at least 12% of GDP we were all demanding is the requirement. To implement this policy, 12% of GDP is required. But we are implementing between 4 to 6%. So that is what we have to think over. We should demand the government very clearly, practically what, see, I must tell you, primary education alone, which we have started from 3rd year of the child, you have to give a good environment in almost all the Anganwadis. We have not done. We have not done that. So to highlight that part of it, what is the no estimate has been done by the policymakers. That is the problem which I am highlighting here.
Actually, in the last 2019 draft, before the National Education Policy, they have mentioned that there will be a higher education council where Prime Minister will be headed, and some of the parliamentarian or some parliamentarian will be the members of the that committee, and only few chief minister or governors will be the members of the that committee. So I think it will definitely create a decentralization in the educational system.
No.
Do you find anything the same thing in this new education policy? Because it was there in 2019 draft.
No, one welcoming thing is, if the Prime Minister chairing any body, any organization in the country, will help to give more funds or make it more democratic in the country. So just because the Prime Minister is chairing any organization will not be centralized. It is not so. But in the policy itself, you should have democratic system in different stages. See, the autonomy of the universities must be protected. You cannot centralize that. If the autonomy is not protected, yes, if the autonomy is not protected, then the centralization comes. Tell me.
Actually, in that committee, the members will be the more of from parliament, not from the educational background. So that would be the serious issue.
That is an administrative body or a monitoring body. For academic work, the Prime Minister or the MPs will not be there. For academic bodies, they will not be there.
Oh, okay, sure.
Friends, any more questions? My only worries is like, sir, every midnight we should be wake up. Don't know which midnight our Prime Minister will come to a news channel and order this.
Yes, sir. That is also there.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Yes, sir. It's I think really it was a very good session, sir. More than that, it made us to think a lot, as well as it is making us to buckle up our shoes to get into a field and fight for it.
Yes.
Definitely we'll be there, sir, behind you, and you can talk in the parliament, and as in the field and universities, colleges, we'll be sharing your thoughts, and our thoughts will mix up, and we'll be reaching out to the students about the NEP. And thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
On this day, even though it's a Sunday, you have spent time with us. Thank you so much, sir. And
thank you.
Our National General Secretary Rauf Sharif Saab, as well as our State President Fayaz Manjanadi Saab, and all my dear friends. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.